Welcome to Sweeping the Country one more time. I'm your host, Derik Walker, my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Carter. And Jimmy, it's so great to have you back.
Well, the story that people, I don't think they're talking about it really.
Yeah.
Just at the water cooler, but at the political level they are, and at the talk show level they are. And it seems to be the only story, along with the origins of COVID, and that Fox News has, and it's the Ukraine situation.
Sure.
They have villainized that story. They've even online, they've come up with quotes and actually him speaking.
Yeah.
Bill Gates talking about how Ukraine was one of the most corrupt countries on earth and da-da-da-da-da.
Sure.
And of course, we're deeply involved in them now, not with physical people, but we're certainly sent a lot of money and a lot of arms to them as they fight the Russians' invasion. But the one side of it is that there's freedom fighting. The Russia has committed crimes against humanity by shooting apartment complexes and things like that.
Yeah, which is awful. I mean, it is. Yeah,
really horrible.
Yeah.
And we've seen we've seen all this on television, and Americans have even gone over there to fight, and some have died.
Yes,
volunteer, old service people that have retired from the United States Army, but felt like they couldn't watch this going on.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
wanted to help those people.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Ukrainian soldiers being trained in Oklahoma right now on the Patriot missile. We've got them in different places. I think we've got them in Kentucky or somewhere up there training with urban warfare,
right?
Learning how to do that. So we're very involved. Bad Pred Paisley wrote a song called Same Here.
Yes.
And it's basically, the gist of it is, the first sentence is talking about, taking a walk on the beach and how lovely it was, and, how they love their life. Then they go down to somewhere in Mexico. They see a wedding. They can't understand a word anybody's saying, but they do see people crying and laughing and realizing that we don't know the language and they don't look like us necessarily, different skin color.
Yes.
But we're all the same. We all laugh and cry at weddings, and that we love our children and we love our families, and we're the same all over. I don't care if you're, Russians or whatever you are. There may be a political class that has
right
as good or bad guys, but we're all basically the same.
I would say that's pretty on point. I mean,
I think so. I think it's kind of you can't really, we don't understand everybody and their cultures,
right?
But they're all basically, all humans want a nice place to use the bathroom.
Sure.
They want to be able to not have a hungry stomach.
Yes.
They want, we're all basically have the same wants and needs. And then the last part of it, he does a Zoom call with the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, who started out this war as a hero. If you remember the coverage of it, it was very much of a hero. This guy who had been an entertainer, ran for office, became the president, and was willing to stand up there on the front lines with his people. He's been more of a leader than most leaders that we call leaders have been.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's been proven out. But somehow it got to be, we got to make this country right now, we've got to have good guys and bad guys. There are no in-betweens.
Yeah.
So
true.
The Republicans on Fox decided to push the narrative that Ukraine was corrupt, that we're sending all this money that's not accounted for. We don't need to get involved with the war over there. We have no interest over there. They've come up with everything in the world that's anti-Ukraine, poisoned the well. On the other side, Democrats, are sending money and doing telethons and doing all that for Ukraine, very much opposites. If you go back in history, and you can't go by the parties, because Republicans at one point were Democrats and Democrats were.
That's right. It's a complete flip-flop. I mean, a lot of people don't know that.
Flip-flop.
Yeah.
But there was a term, Pat Buchanan, who was a popular politician for a while, started this America First thing, and Trump ran with it. But before that was something called isolationism. We didn't want to get into World War II. World War II was well underway in Europe when we got involved.
Right.
It took the sinking of the Lusitania, where we lost a lot of lives, to get us in the game.
Yeah.
Americans were leaving to go to Canada to join the Canadian forces to go fight in Europe.
Fascinating.
And then we got in, and we were all in, and Eisenhower was the commander and everything else over there. And on the other side, we knew war was brewing.
Yeah.
Over there, Japan was was all upset. I think we cut their steel off or did something with steel. I can't remember, but we made them mad. And then they came over here, and I think we expected it. I'm not sure, but then they surprised us with Pearl Harbor.
Right.
And then it was like 9/11. We got involved. They awoke the sleeping giant.
That's right.
And away we went into World War II. Now on two different sides, on the West and the East.
That's right.
So is history repeating itself again with China threatening to invade Taiwan? And are we going to let that happen? Maybe.
Boy.
And so if we do, what keeps them from invading South Korea?
Any of those
Philippines, Malaysia. They'll want all of Southeastern Europe. They want it all.
Sure.
Southeastern Asia, rather. Over there on the other side, Putin, even though he's older, but he's got people under him that are going to take his place.
Sure.
So don't worry about that. They want to put Russia back together. They want to put the Soviet Union back together. Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. So he's wanting to reclaim land that used to be theirs. Well, Ukrainians, they're not signed off on that, as he found out, because they like their freedom.
Right.
They don't want to be a part of Mother Russia anymore, even though a lot of their relatives live in Moscow. So that's going on, and he has gone over the line with creating mankind. What do they call that? Crimes against mankind.
Oh, humanity.
By shooting missiles into apartment complexes and shooting civilians. You're not supposed to do that in war. There are rules even in war.
Yeah.
And we've seen the Germans and the Japanese back in World War II violate those laws. And many of the leaders that did that had their heads chopped off and hung.
The other thing that concerns me, and I think you're right on with all of that, but what concerns me as you talk about maybe invading, Taiwan with China and then Russia working on Ukraine, is spreading ourselves so thin that we can't fight anywhere well.
As we were in the beginning of World War II. We lost a lot of our fleet at Pearl Harbor, which was the point. Our defense plants were certainly not operating as they were.
Yeah,
we geared up and, we started building airplanes and ships.
That's right.
We put people in the service and sent them off to war in two different directions. Members of my family that have now passed away were, my father was in Philippines and later in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle Bill was flying planes in Europe, and a lot of my family members were in those wars.
I had a father-in-law.
America didn't want to be in there. The point is, America didn't want to be there.
That's right. Yeah.
And we got somewhat surprised, and we definitely had to gear up for it. And we're not ready now. We've given a lot of weapons to Ukraine. We've depleted some of our supply that we had backlogged. We're probably at a weaker place now than we were before we started supporting Ukraine. But the difference in all these wars is that China, Russia, the United States, North Korea, and we don't know who else have the nuclear bomb.
That is true.
We have a delivery system to do it. So if things get so far pushed to the wall, whether you're Russia or China or anybody else, you let the nukes fly. And when the nukes start flying, we're all going to get in trouble.
That's right, Jimmy. And I think about that, and I think about the Cold War, and I think back in the Russia-United States Cold War, there were two countries, right? That was and maybe China, I don't know. But at the time, it was, well, will Russia or launch? Will U.S. launch? And, of course, everybody was, nobody's going to launch. But we can't even catch a balloon flying across the northern half of the United States until it's crossed the entire, contiguous lineup of states. So I'm not even sure anyone has confidence in our own ability to defend anymore. I really don't. And then when you spread it so thin, I'm not sure that we would have a fighting chance. And that sounds super dismal, but it's how I look at it. I mean, we got a bunch of clowns running the show right now. And if you've let, a spy balloon go from coast to coast without picking that up, and if you're telling,
I don't think any of us know what really that's all about.
I don't know. I really don't.
There's more to it than meets the eye, I think.
Yeah, but it's scary to me.
The whole thing is scary. The whole thing is scary. The fact that there's cyber warfare that is going on.
Well, there's that, and
7 days a week, 365. That we've got hundreds of people that are involved with that every day.
Yeah,
on both sides, trying to take down each other's that we can do more if we wanted to.
Yeah,
You've got Israel over there; they're cocked and ready to do all kinds of stuff, to do our bidding if we need them to.
yeah, that's true. That
And
is
there are
true.
another ones we think they have. I think we know, but we don't know
Right
if
on
they're
nuclear.
nuclear armed. I think they're probably nuclear armed
I would
too.
imagine. I would imagine. And in World War II, really, we were the only show in town.
Oh yeah,
So
but that's not the case now. So
no,
we live
definitely.
in a very crazy world. I saw today that grocery prices are up. Inflation, grocery prices are up 17%.
That's incredible.
That's a pretty big percent, and it's really obvious when you go to the store
Do you
on
have
some things more than others.
do you have there's a store that we go to here, and they're not plugging our show in any way, but do you have something out there called Grocery Outlet?
I've heard of them, but I don't. I know that they exist some
Yeah,
places.
great
I
place
don't
to
think we
go
do.
if you want to save a little money. I mean, I went in there where I normally would spend $200 for, say, a week's worth of groceries for two people, which is a fair amount. But that used to be 100, now it's 200. So $200 that I would spend at a brand name store, and I go to the grocery outlet, I can get pretty much the same thing for about $80 for the whole week.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah,
some of the stuff
that
second.
helps.
Yeah, it's I mean just a little tip for people. I know 17% is incredible. That'll take a crunch right out of your budget for sure.
Talk real quick on a subject that I don't want to. We don't want to talk about. Nobody wants to hear, but I just want to tell you. Had a friend of mine's dad die,
I always don't like
and
that.
so they wanted. They used to live in the St. Petersburg area,
Yeah.
Florida.
Okay.
So they were 98 years old.
Mm.
They wanted to put the obituary in the newspaper
Which people
because
do.
a
Yeah.
lot of older people would want to see it in the newspaper.
Yeah.
To put it in there for one day
Yeah.
in the Tampa Bay Times, $2,500.
Are you kidding me? I
No,
mean, that should be a $65 post.
or
I mean,
$100
I
you got to
don't
have a
know.
picture
I mean,
maybe or
come
something.
on. Yeah.
2,500 for
Oh
one day.
my. Yeah, no.
That's criminal.
It's
All right.
robbery. Yeah.
There is a zombie drug that's out there. Something else people need to worry about.
Okay. All right.
XYLA zine, xylazine.
Okay. What does it do?
It is a veterinary product that tranquilizer that is being used to cut other drugs. Users are using the xylazine with opioids like fentanyl to increase their high.
Wow.
Overdoses are common when they use both the drugs together. Xylene is not an opioid. Narcan doesn't work. Narcan
Oh yeah,
doesn't work.
the thing that cops carry, right? If you overdose, that's
Yeah,
the drug that hit you.
but it
with. Yeah.
doesn't work when it's being cut with that drug. It also has a lot of other problems associated with it. The drug is absolutely terrifying, according to the opioid coordinator at the Myrtle Beach Police Department. It destroys the tissue at the injection site. So not only is it terrifying in concept and the way it works,
Yeah.
it's visually terrifying. The drug gives users a zombie-like appearance because it causes excessive drowsiness and rots their skin, sometimes
What?
all the way to the bone.
Oh my gosh, this is just
First
wild.
responders are finding victims with ulcer-like areas around injection sites, and they're trying to adapt to this new thing.
Wow. I mean, honestly, I talk about self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, all the zombie stuff that's out there. I mean, obviously they're still
Drugs are
alive,
so
but
stupid.
they are.
Drugs
It just
so stupid.
it just goes to
Anybody
show you.
wants to do.
Going to those extents to get high to rot your own flesh. Are you kidding me? Unbelievable.
Be a zombie.
Unbelievable.
Fraud schemes are pretty prevalent around the country.
Yeah.
Alabama, Georgia are getting. I said, what are these things exactly? Fraud.
Yeah.
A disproportionate number are people who are getting scammed.
Mm-hmm.
Contact victims over 70. Victim age 70 to 79 more likely to pay scammers with credit cards.
Wow.
Whereas older victims were more likely to send gift cards. And these scammers are doing stuff like, your taxes or the IRS has done something, or your state taxes, or you're this or you're that, and they scare people to death.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff looks really real.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't know if it's really the real people or whatever. Somebody the other day got a note on the computer that their bank account had been added 1,600 had ended up in their Bank of America account via Zelle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then that person, then all of a sudden the phone started texting and going off. You've got my money in your account. I need for you to send it back. It was a mistake. I didn't mean to send it to you.
Oh,
And
that's
so
interesting.
people look in there in the 1600s somehow, and they send them back to 1600, and they've lost 1600 of their own money plus that false 1600.
Yeah.
And they're just out. And the banks don't back up Zelle.
Okay, so that's interesting because
not like your credit card being stolen or something.
Yeah, I got one. It's been 2 weeks by now, but I got one, and I was waiting for some packages to come, and it wasn't a request for money, but it was interesting, and I almost fell for it, Jimmy. And I'm not an idiot, and we talk about this kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I get this, says your packages are delayed. And I said, oh, no, man, I've been waiting for these packages to come. And so it click here and to see the tracking, right, on your package.
Uh-oh.
So I clicked it because I'm expecting packages, and it takes me to a mock U.S. post office site. And when I got there, it said punch in your information, your address, your phone number.
Oh.
And as I started looking at it, I looked at the top where the web banner was, and it described what the website was, not uspostoffice.gov or anything, some wacky thing. And I thought, I'm going to see if this is legit. So I put in the U.S. Post Office and was able to detect that this was a fake post office website. But they were just trying to gather information. Had nothing to do with money at that point. But just be careful, folks. I mean, it can come in all forms. It can come in text.
They're getting better.
Oh, they are getting good.
There was something. It was Bank America. It was a Bank America thing or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, but it's confusing. You don't know if it's real or fake.
Right, exactly.
Because they've gotten so good.
Yeah, sophisticated.
And one thing, if you see anything that's a weird dot, I've got so many of them.
Yeah.
I can't remember dot P. Anyway, it's not a .com or anything like that. There are people that are always trying to they want to sponsor my YouTube channel. That's a very common one.
You got to watch that. Yeah.
And they're all fake.
Yeah.
Every one of them is a crooked thing.
I look at it this way. If I don't solicit it myself, I throw it away. I look at that. I just think, and I fell for the package thing because I had packages coming. But if I didn't ask for it, if I didn't solicit it, man, I just throw it away. I figure if they need my money bad enough, they'll figure out another way to get a hold of me if it's legit.
Yeah, the IRS will never. They get you through another means. They don't call you. They don't do anything.
Oh, you get a nice letter from those folks. Yeah, I mean they send it in the mail and it's all legit.
They like the government post office.
Yeah.
Box. And Elon Musk is the richest man in the world again.
Surprise.
$187.1 billion.
God, how did he do it?
Just wanted you to know.
Yeah,
Cocaine Bear did decent at the box office, $23 billion. Even though it got a B- on Cinema Score.
That's a true story, but from what I understand, the bear itself is true, but the bear didn't go on a killing spree. It just died. Yeah, it died. But a lot of people going to see that movie, and I got to say, it intrigues me a little bit. I kind of want to see it. I mean, I haven't seen it.
It's gory.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Gory.
Yeah, it looks like it might.
And if you want to know what some of these people eat, this is a gourmet meal that the other night at Screen Actors Guild Awards.
Okay, this is the famous, rich and famous.
And I wouldn't be eating most. Well, I might eat some of this. I don't know.
Let's talk about it.
It's a chicken and tarragon surrounded by a roasted winter vegetable salad of squash, baby carrots, pomegranate rutabaga, brown butter puree, ancient grains, and fermented garlic sauce.
I'd eat that. I mean, it might give me gas, but I'd eat it.
To wash it all down, Cooper's Hank Artist's red and white blend wine, purely Sedona still and sparkling water, Lallier champagne, and Campari cocktails.
Hey, there's nothing in there I wouldn't eat. Now, what are you not eating in there? The fermented garlic?
It just doesn't look good. I mean, it just doesn't look like something I would eat.
Next time I see you, I'm going to make that menu. We're going to, me, you, anybody else in your party, and we're going to sit down, we're going to make that and serve it. We'll see how it is. We'll serve that exactly.
Rich people, why can't they just eat normal, Eat normal. All right, that's our story for now.
Indeed it is. Thank you for listening to Sweeping the Country. We'll do it again next week right here. Remember to tell a friend. I'm Derik Walker. He is
Jimmy Carter.
Good day.
Good day.